The fifth and final pick, the Miami Dolphins plus 3.5. I mentioned this on the early line show. I talked about it after the Dolphins beat the Buffalo Bills, that they had a real shot at getting into the wild card conversation. Now, obviously, where they're at right now, even if they win this game against the Steelers on Monday night, they're plus 3.5. They win outright. They're now 7-7. If Baltimore loses and the Kansas City Chiefs lose, they would move up ahead of them. The Colts, what's going to happen with them with Phillip Rivers now? They're at 8-5. They're the number 8 team. But then you've got the Texans, Bills at 9-4. You've got the Bills at 9-4 and the Los Angeles Chargers at 9-4. Both of those teams have very difficult games this week. The Chargers obviously facing Kansas City in Kansas City. Bills facing the Patriots in New England, where they already lost to them once. So this is a huge game for their NFC or the AFC East chances, or they're probably pretty much relegated to the wild card. But somehow, I mean, if the Dolphins can get into this, get to 7-7. Now, I will say this though: everything gets a lot harder after this one. They've got the Bengals; they could win that one. They've got the Bucks. These are home games though, so they've got the Bengals at home. They've got the Bucks at home. Then they've got to go on the road week 18 to New England. Will the Patriots have everything locked up and not start Drake May and maybe some of their other starters, sitting them out to, potentially rest them, especially if they get the 1 seed and they've got the bye week? So that means they can essentially rest their starters for 2 weeks, rest anybody that may be slightly injured, and have their team 100% healthy going into the playoffs. That's certainly a possibility. Would give Miami every opportunity to win that game and potentially make the wild card. But it starts with this Steelers game. And I think they're going to be able to run the ball against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has given up over 200 yards rushing the last 2 weeks to the Bills and to the Ravens. Now you've got a Miami team that if they run the ball more than 30 times a game, they've won. And if they're throwing the ball all over the field, they lose. So I expect to see a lot of runs in this one. TJ Watt just popped up on the injury report for the Steelers. Looks like he's not playing. He's got an issue with his lung where he literally had to go to the hospital from the practice facility. So does he have a collapsed lung, bruised lung? Any one of those types of situations, though, he shouldn't be playing because that's life-threatening injury when you're talking about your lungs. So he's probably not going to play. I just think this Miami Dolphins team, their defense has been playing very, very well over the last few weeks. They've turned the corner. They did this last year where they started off really badly against, win-loss record, and in the final half of the season, they were a totally different team, and it looks like that's just the direction they're going in this year. So plus 3.5, I think it's way too many points for this Steelers team to be laying. Yeah, the Steelers were able to beat Baltimore Ravens last week, but it was such a weird game with the fact that the Baltimore Ravens were able to run for over 200 yards and yet somehow lost that game with turnovers and just bad play calling and just situational football mistakes that you normally don't see. It's going to be a tough place to play for Miami. They're obviously going up to Pittsburgh. It's going to be cold. There's obviously a chance of nasty weather in this one, as there always is in Pittsburgh this time of year. But I just don't think Pittsburgh's got it. I like Miami plus the points here. I think 3.5 is just too much. I think they're going to run the ball on the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're going to get themselves to 500. They're going to put themselves in a position where if they can win out the rest of the year, they maybe make the playoffs, maybe make the wild card. But I liked this game earlier in the week, so I decided to stick with it. I heard from some other people whose opinion I trust that they like Miami in this situation. So I'm going to stick with my original thoughts. I'm going with the Miami Dolphins plus 3.5 as my fifth and final pick for week 15 of the Circa Million contest.